Hello, Internet. This is Leisha Sterling with Geeks Without Bounds, and we're here today on September the 1st of 2015 for our third, I think this is our third mentorship with Aguas con tu Agua, a project that is helping track water quality in Guatemala and the world eventually. So today we're going to be moving on from the work that we did last week. We actually had a nearly 2-hour mentorship last week going through the 25 things. You won't be able to see that video because it was mostly us sitting with our head down writing stuff, and so probably was not the most exciting video in the world, or audio for that matter. But we will be sharing the results of it in a blog post here shortly. And today we're just going to go through the process of going from that point to setting out our
an endpoint target.
Our endpoint target and priorities for the next 6 months. And with that, I'm going to shut up because Mark is way better at this. And I'm going to translate, you know what, I'm just going to translate on the sheet for the notes for today over in Google Docs. And then if anybody has questions or comments for me, you can either also type into those docs or use the chat in the Google Docs section. Or, of course, if you speak up, I'll hear you. ¿Está bien? ¿Me entendieron?
Okay. Okay, did you guys have a chance to go over the lists?
Yes.
Okay. What was popping out at you? What were you noticing? What was sort of, what caught your eye?
There were some items that were resembling the same idea.
Okay.
I mean, when we were reading him, they felt like they were talking about the same thing, and we tried to group them into just one item.
Okay. What did those tend to be? The groupings. What? Could you take these down in the notes, Lish?
I'm doing that.
Okay.
For example, we were talking about we are trying to create a better life for people, and there were some items that were referring to the same thing. So we grouped them into just one item, talking about that we are trying to improve life.
Okay. What other ones came to be redundant?
For example, that we were talking about making people conscious about how important water is in life.
Okay, so you had a lot. Okay, what other ones?
Okay, we were talking that we are trying, or we are referring to create a website, but although some of the items we're talking about creating a website, the ideas in this case we're not talking about the same features on the website.
Okay.
So although we are talking about creating a website, features were listed separately.
Okay. Were there any others that you saw a common ground with?
No others for me.
Okay.
To me, I don't know any other things.
Okay. So, clearly the website is a big part of this project. Yes?
Yes. Hold on a second. Let me, Mark, in case you don't have it, this is the link to the 25 things in case you want to have that up on your screen at the same time.
Okay. Now, also, you mentioned a testing kit as
Yes,
part of this project. Now,
that's one of the ideas.
okay, but that's really where you get your data, right?
Actually, no. Right now, we are getting data from public databases.
Okay. Now, so let me ask you, what is the status of this website? Does it exist as a prototype, or is it?
Yes, you can. You can. Let me see. Oh, my computer is so slow. You can use this URL, aguas.agua.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can navigate to that link. We installed our prototype in that link. That's the product we created in Space Apps Challenge.
Okay, so that's essentially a website that you created. Do you want to add things to that website, or are you happy with it for now?
We are trying to create a new version of that website.
Okay, why are you unhappy with the website? What is it you want to do to change it and make it better?
Okay, first of all, because when we created this version or this prototype, it was like a 2-day coding period of work,
Okay.
and some of the features are just like just the button is just put there, but it's not doing all of the work that it has to do.
Okay.
So
What's
we
missing?
think, well, there are a lot of features that it's missing. We just want to create a first version, maybe like an alpha version that
Okay.
contains the main features that we think that can help us to create, I don't know, like a target or like a first target audience.
Okay. So what you really want is a so one of your priorities, it sounds like, is a website that is essentially that does some more things and makes more people aware of the status of water quality in the area. Is that about right?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I jump in and ask if you guys have a list of the features that you want to have as an, what your endpoint list of features is? Si tienen una lista de todas las cosas que quieren que haga este web app.
Yes. Um, like 2 weeks ago, we gather in a place and start like brainstorming about what these features need to be. And we were just thinking and going through some of the features, and we were finding that some of them were like useless, maybe at this point, or too difficult to start with, and were delimiting, or we were like eliminating those possibilities or those ideas.
So do you have
Okay.
that list? That list of the
No.
features? Okay. No.
Can
Okay.
can you share that list with us? Maybe after the mentorship, or whenever you guys get the chance, could you drop that list into the folder with the Hangout with the mentorship notes, um, and let us know it's there so we can look at that with you.
Yes, gladly.
Thanks.
Okay, so finalizing that list is going to be one of the things you have to do. That's yeah. That maybe let's put that on sort of the potential target lists.
Yeah.
Now, you want to increase awareness. How do you have any ideas on how you're going to increase the user awareness of this function? Do you know? Have you settled on a strategy for getting people to the website and getting them to use it and benefit from it? Essentially, a public relations, marketing strategy.
Well, maybe as a public relationship strategy, we haven't think about it, but what we were talking is that we needed to use gamification to create like a very attractive experience for the users, so the users can find this website and start using it because some friends were using it. We were trying to create this viral experience for the user, and to create this or to do this, we were thinking about creating like a mini game in the website that I don't know that is trying to engage the users of some locations, like for example some cities, and let the other users in other cities that a larger group exists in that city. So the people in the other cities are trying to beat this group or beat this team by inviting more people, more neighborhoods. Can I say? I don't know. We were trying to create like this, a competition where each city creates its own group of citizens. And in the end, we were trying to gather as much people as we can for each city and for each group, so we can maybe
So,
like declare like a winning group into them.
so essentially, you're trying to link a game to activism and investment in this website. That's you're trying to get people involved but with a sort of miniature game. Is that
Exactly.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
Um, it's. I think that's a really interesting idea. And I guess later down the road, your water quality kit would probably play into this, be part of this game in the field. That be right?
Maybe because what we are trying to achieve is that people start to using or to knowing our website. And once people get to know our website, we can like use that what audience
Mhm.
to to brand whatever strategy we are trying to drive.
Okay, so what you're really talking about doing here is over the next 6 months designing and building a game for your website and getting it functioning. Is that correct? Would that be a fair target? What do you think, Lish?
Um, so I don't think that that should be the 6 month target. I mean, I think that creating the game itself is a much shorter level target, in my opinion. It doesn't have to be that complex. Um, it have to be that difficult to program. Um, but over the 6 months, having a target of um, uh, increasing. Sorry, my brain just went dead. The word, I lost the word. Increasing involvement, increasing uh, the community activity on the site. That would definitely be one of the 6 months goals.
What if it was a 3-month goal to design the game and get it ready to prototype and
honestly, no, I don't think it's a 3-month goal. I mean, okay, let me back up.
6 weeks?
These guys have very little time, so I don't know how much time they can put into it. But um, depending on what they were doing, and depending on if a couple of guys could pour, you know, a few 5-hour coding stints on it, you could probably finish it within 2 to 3 weeks. And that's just because they've got so many other things going. If I grabbed a team of 3 people who already knew what they were programming, they could make that game in 2 or 3 days. So, just days, yeah. Just the game part, just getting people on there, and competing with each other for spots. Hold on just a second. David, what do you call that when the only thing your game does is get people to press the buttons?
Oh, Skinner box.
Skinner box. Yeah, sorry. My son, the gamer back there. Basically creating a really basic Skinner box game where the only thing that you care about is getting people to join and to press buttons, and they feel good because they pressed a button. That's really easy to write once you know what it is that you're writing.
Well, I think they want to get people operating in the field at some point as a part of this game. I mean, I'm sort of thinking...
Sorry, my mom's trying to call me, so I just had to hand my phone off to the kid.
Okay. I'm thinking something like this this weird space aliens game. It's got like the greens and the blues, and there's space aliens. I forget what it's called.
Ingress. You're thinking of Ingress. Okay,
yeah.
But so let me back you up here and back you off. Okay, so when you're programming something like Ingress, you're spending all of your effort on building a game and an experience and a story into the game, right? And what is the real goal here? Is the real goal the game? And basically, when you're creating a game like Ingress, you're either selling people things or getting them. Hold on, just a second. I'm being distracted by a child. One sec. Hi, sorry guys. So you're a game like Ingress. The end goal is to get people playing so that you can either get their data, which you're going to sell or use for profit, or to you're basically selling advertising, right? And you just want the people in the space to sell the advertising. And that kind of a game that's immersive, like Ingress, you can create the launch version very quickly, and then you just keep building and building and building in order to keep people on the game. And if the whole project just turns into a game, then you have to really think about how is this game going to have the end result that you really want. So if
we were thinking about the game because we just want to create community. We want to be close to the people so we can transmit whatever message we have to do.
Right.
Using social networks, we were we were thinking about using what social networks can do to create community.
Right. So let's back off of the game for just a moment, and let's go back to what are our real goals here. I mean, if we get back to the game is important, and I'm not trying to take us and say there's no game involved here. But I think that we need to focus back on what our goal is, what the purpose of this is. So,
yes, and we were talking about not a game, maybe per se, but using gamification as a strategy to create awareness of our website.
All right, so let's get back into this. I'm sorry that I derailed you, Mark, but
not a problem. It's not me that it's derailing them. I just want to make sure this is their choice and their decision of what they want to do. We're just facilitating discussion and taking it down different paths so they can take a look at them. That's
yeah. So let's go back to Mark. You know how with the other teams last session, you took them at this point through not a mission statement. You have a different word for it. What do you call it that it isn't a mission statement?
Target.
Okay, but the one sentence that says this is what we are, this is what we're doing.
What are we really trying to do? What are you really trying to do is the question. Yeah.
Right.
And
so I think that we need to start there.
Okay.
And then it'll be clearer what to do next.
Okay. Well, okay, guys, what are you really trying to do? And the emphasis is on do. What?
That's a 1 million question.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about what our target could be. For example, when talking about water issues, we could talk about like farmers, because they are trying to use the water to grow whatever they want. Or maybe we can think about cities and all the people living at the cities, because they need to use water every day. So when talking about water issues, we are thinking about a lot of things.
It's a big issue.
Yeah. So what we were trying to do is to delimitate, or maybe like to focus on just one population or one target related to water issues.
Okay. Now remember, you can do pretty much anything, and you can even do everything, but you just can't do it all at once. So it's, what are you going to do? What are you really trying to do over the next 6 months? And what are you really trying to do long term?
Because we were trying to create a profitable project, and I mean profitable because it needs to be sustainable in some way.
Okay, write that down, Lish.
Hold on.
Profitable is something that they absolutely have to have here.
Well, sustainable we have to have. So it needs
Well, they said profitable. Is it sustainable or profitable? Which is it? That's the question, Scott, that they have to answer.
Okay, sustainable.
Okay.
So we were thinking in some ideas, because one of our teammates is working, or is used to work with this geographical unit, or this geodata unit at the government. So we were trying to focus on how the local governments can get to use our website, our application, or maybe our platform. So we were focusing on this target. I mean, like NGOs or local governments or local communities. And we were talking about this issue that is maybe very common here at Guatemala, and is that there are a lot of cities, maybe like rural communities, that cannot have access to drink. How do you say that? Water that can be drinked.
Potable water.
Sorry,
Potable water.
potable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we were talking about these communities that cannot have access to potable water, or maybe this service provided by the local government. And why? Because they are too far away from the city. So what is very common here in Guatemala is that a lot of projects are created to help these communities to get water. I don't know, maybe like the nearest river, or maybe from the nearest lake. And these projects are financed by international authorities or organizations.
Organizations, yeah, usually like international development organizations and NGOs.
Yes, and in time, these projects tends to fail, not because help or international organizations didn't create a strong project, but because the people doesn't know very well about how to run a self-sustainable project. So we were thinking that our platform may help these communities, these groups that needed to, or need to run a self-sustainable water project. And why? Because at least here at Guatemala, there is this it's not a rule, but it's like
Lo
a
puede
politic.
decir, lo puede decir en español si hay una palabra que no puede pensar en inglés.
Normalmente no pienso en inglés. Pero aquí en Guatemala existe una figura
So
para las comunidades que se llama
there's a figure in Guatemala, and he's trying to remember what it's called.
Comité de Agua.
The water committee.
Yeah, and the water committee can be established at every local or rural community in order to take care of water bodies or water issues. And it has a political recognition. I mean, it is accepted by political units or agencies.
Right. So this sounds very much like a sort of committee that exists in Tanzania, where we're doing another water project. And those in Tanzania, they're called CAUSOs. It stands for Community Organized Water Supply Organizations. So yeah, that's basically members of the community who, for all intents and purposes, own and control the water system, the wells, the pumps, the pipes from point A to point B, and make sure that everything runs. Is that the same sort of thing with the water committees?
Yes, and also to be aware of what threats of the water can exist in their area. So what we were thinking is that our platform can be used by these committees to help them to get up and running their project.
Okay. Okay, so let's go back to the question, what are we really trying to do? So we've got all of these different pieces here. We've got we want to understand what the threats to the water are. We want to understand what the actual quality of water is in different places. We want to know if you have access to piped water or not, clean water sources, or protected water sources, as opposed to just if you have access to an open well, but the well isn't protected, then there's nothing to keep that well water safe, right? But if the well is covered, then you're not going to get lots of contaminants in it. On the other hand, that well might be getting contaminants from another point, through the groundwater or whatever. You need to test the water and be sure of that. Another kind of protected water source would be water that's coming straight up from a clean well into pipes, into water pumps, or into houses. So the question of who has access to these protected water sources, are the water sources, protected or non-protected, really safe water? And your initial prototype application basically just looks at the question of, is this water safe or not, right?
Right, but using a social point of view, I mean, if I'm living here at Coban and I look at my river, I can evaluate how polluted I think it is. And gathering all of these points of view, we are trying to create like a national index of the river, of how polluted is the river.
Okay, so that brings me to the question. Over the last few weeks, we've discussed the difference between people's perception of pollution and actual pollution, and that this is one of the reasons to have the testing kits, because what people perceive is clean water or not clean water is not the same thing as what actually is clean water or not clean water, and that part of this process is educating people about the actual status of their water. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start from the prototype that you already have of we have a prototype that tracks where clean water is, or where we think clean water is, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to let me kind of talk and write. I'm not very good at talking and writing at the same time. Long form, or let me say bullet point form. So what you're trying to do, track perception of water quality, track reality of water quality, provide communities, NGOs, government with data on perception and real quality. So, are all of these things true? Are these what you're trying to do so far in bullet point form? I'm going to put it down here.
Yes, I mean, when reading all of these bullets, I don't know, it's like forming the big idea in my head, and it is correct.
That's the goal. That's my goal. All right, so we also need, in order to do this, we need to engage community members in tracking water quality. Yes? Is that true?
Yes.
So we don't
I was thinking.
Not top-down knowledge creation, but bottom-up. All right, you were thinking?
I was thinking maybe my best case scenario. My base case scenario. Maybe how I am thinking that people can use this platform. So what I'm thinking is that these water committees, I don't know how do you pronounce it.
You're saying it right, committees.
Okay, when water committees are working at their local community, they are using our hardware kit. And why are they using it? Because they need to track how the status of the water or the quality of the water is at that time. So they are using our hardware kit and they are measuring their quality of water, and then they upload this information to our platform, the water committee. I don't know how to pronounce that. And when they upload it, we are gathering this information and making some kind of statistics. And local government authorities can have access to these statistics, maybe using like how do you say that? Like a dashboard, and they can get to know how big or how the quality of water is changing through time, maybe because it's the rainy season, or maybe like there is like a big industry or big farming industry growing in some area, and they can get to know or get to understand how these threats or how this quality of water is changing in their region. Because you know Guatemala is divided into 22 regions, political regions. So they are taking care of their own region, this local government. So ideally we want that every local government is adopting our platform to get to know how these rural communities are working with their water.
Okay, so it sounds like, so is your first platform going to be limited just to your province, or?
Because right now we are using data referring only to Guatemala. We are thinking about just our country, and we can create these dashboards thinking for their own region, I mean for local governments regions.
Okay, so what he was actually asking was, are you planning on starting with a pilot that's in your region to start and then expanding from there? Or are you planning on launching nationally throughout all of Guatemala?
Okay, that kind of path was not defined, but we would like to start in our region.
Okay.
Okay, that's a significant choice. It's going to be,
yes.
you're going to limit yourself to that region for the first.
For the first 6 months.
Yeah.
So I want to jump in and give you some thoughts on this, because there's two possible ways of going with this right now, with sort of the discussions that you've had up until now and sort of where the discussion is going right now. So up until now, it's been very much about, let's make sure that the individuals, that the citizens are involved, that the citizens are making, are testing the water, that the citizens are getting to know more about their quality of water, the status of the quality of their water. And in the shift to talking about the water committees and the government, what I'm perceiving in that shift is that you feel like if you're focusing on the water committees, then the water committees are tracking the quality of the water. It's not so much a focus on the citizens, but a focus on specifically the water committees and specifically the government and political entities. I know that the water committees aren't exactly a government entity, but still, this becomes an issue that is the issue of people who already think about water.
Yeah,
it's a different audience you're working for.
Right,
exactly. We were.
Go ahead.
Okay, we were talking about gamification for the website because we were thinking about why are we not happy with it, and why are we were changing it. And one of the features we were talking about was gamification for the website. But
right.
When talking about maybe like a near future, I don't know, maybe our target should be different. And when we were thinking about what kind of different target it should be, we were talking about these water committees and local governments and NGOs.
So I think that this is a really great target to be heading for. But I'd like to bring in an idea that will help you to mesh the more populist version together with this more top-down version and put them together. So this other project that we work with that was in our accelerator program and that we continue to work with in Tanzania now, it's called Taarifa. I'm pretty sure that I shared the link with you before. So the thing about Taarifa is that the base software basically simply takes data in and then allows you to put it up onto a dashboard. The core of Taarifa is basically a database and an API for getting information into the database and taking information out. And then there are sort of, you might say, plugins or layers that you can put on top of that. So people can put data in using SMS on a dumb phone, or people can use a web app or a mobile phone app to get information in. And then once that information is in, depending on how you want to interact with that data, whether you're, say, a water minister or the local water committee, what they call CAUSOs in Tanzania, or whether you're a woman going to get water at your local water point, you can see a dashboard that tells you anything from, is my water point working today or not, to where are all the working water points and where are all the broken water points. Now, the thing about this system is that it starts off from a very populist point of view. Like, who says if a water point is working or broken? It's the person on the ground. It's the people who use the water. And so they're empowered to say when things work and when things don't work. And then the ones who are sort of providing the service of making sure that that actually gets fixed and works are the water committees and the Ministry of Water. Now, you know, the system that you're talking about is focused more on the water quality rather than on the physical infrastructure, but the same sort of thing can be created, the same sort of dynamic can be created, where you're getting the ordinary people to report in about their perception about the water, as well as you know, the citizen science of learning how to test their own water. You know, by having many people who are empowered to physically test the water themselves and to check it, you'll have more, what's the word I'm looking for? More trust in the actual reports, right? It's not only coming from the water committee or from the government, who might have reason to not tell exactly the truth, or they might have reason to only do some of the tests and not all of the tests, right? Or, you know, they might even just decide not to do the testing at all because they know full well that it's not good. So people don't necessarily trust the quality of the water. A perfect example of that is here in Colfax, Washington. There's a huge problem with the trust of the water quality here. We have the highest rate of multiple sclerosis in the country. We have a massive, like, we had one year where every single woman on a block that faces the river, like 3 blocks of one street all facing the same river, every single woman on that street got breast cancer within 1 year, within 12 months of each other. Like, that, where's that coming from? And if you look at the, you know, the government reports about our water, it says our water is perfectly fine. And yet, most of the people in this town are like, I ain't drinking that water. No way, no how. You know, if we had an Aguas con tu agua kit that anybody in town could test the water coming out of our pipes, and we found the same thing that the government was telling us, then we'd have more trust in that, and we'd be saying, okay, clearly there's a problem. There's a reason that people are getting MS, and the reason that babies are being born deformed, and why people are getting cancer at insane rates here. But at least we know it's not the water, right? And that would be a huge relief, I know, to the people of Colfax. So, like, I know I'm going on and yappity-yappiting, but what I'm trying to express here is that I can't tell you guys what to do, but I would be so thrilled if you don't let go of that, you know, populist base layer, encourage people to be involved with that process of finding out what the water quality really is. And also, another thing about that is that if you're getting people to say what they perceive the water quality to be, even if they don't have testing, that's going to empower the water committees and the government to actually, you know, understand what their challenges are. So I hope that you guys will absolutely go towards making this available and working with the water committees and the government, but please, please keep that populist side very much a core part of what you're doing?
We were thinking and considering how important crowdsourcing is for the app, but I don't know, maybe because here at Guatemala, when we are thinking about crowdsourcing, we are thinking on the people that is living at the city, and because technology is maybe not so common at rural communities, and because technology is not so available, then we cannot start thinking about how easy will be for rural communities to give information. So when we start thinking about this factor, this issue, and then we decided that the one group that is caring about water and it could make efforts to provide information will be the water committees.
Okay, so I see that. So my question regarding the rural communities would be, how many of those people use mobile phones and SMS? Is that very common in the rural areas of Guatemala?
Tomorrow, man. It's just growing out too much, dude.
I think penetration of mobile technologies is quite enough at rural communities, but we are facing another problem is that rural communities, they do not talk in Spanish, most of them. They are using other
Takchikel?
languages.
Is it mostly Kakchikel, or is it are there many languages?
Here in Guatemala, there are like 22 to 25 languages, and here at Coban, there are three main languages.
By the way, Mark, I put you on mute because it was really noisy over there. Okay, so the language barrier is not impossible to deal with in the long term, but it's going to slow us down in the short term. So, yeah, focusing. I see what you're saying about focusing on the water committees. Yeah. My heart is sad because I want to keep the people on the ground involved. So we're 11 minutes after the hour, and we still have so much to discuss and think about around these things. I want to bring us back to the what are we really trying to do. So
I was thinking maybe I can maybe we can create like a lean canvas or a business model canvas or any other tool to try to what to make an overview of what are we trying to create and
yeah,
how are we looking at it.
yeah. So let me back up for a second. So this question of what are we really trying to do? Our goal with that statement or with that question is to come up with a single statement that encapsulates what our end goal is. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to go and find this particular let me see, service advisor. I'm looking for the notes from our previous team. Okay, so here is a what we are trying to do statement from one of our previous teams. They said, we want Service Advisor to be capable of becoming the most comprehensive and up-to-date source of humanitarian aid information for a refugee community within 2 weeks of it being deployed. So that was their first version. And later they revised that and said, we will work with a deployment partner, asking them a series of questions and getting the answers in order to reach the point where we can deploy Service Advisor within 2 weeks, making relevant data sets of humanitarian aid information accessible to the refugee community as a comprehensive, useful, and up-to-date resource. Now that's like this really long sentence, but it's one sentence that says exactly what they're attempting to do. And I'm going to try to find the equivalent for media thread.
Well, there's also that one I've got about the health food company that we worked with.
Right, and you told them the story of the health food company. So, do you want to?
Yeah, this is a health food packager we worked with some years ago, and they decided that what they wanted to be was the fastest responding health food packager west of the Mississippi. So think about what the language of that statement. Fastest responding. If it didn't have anything to do with response time, they didn't care. They had to be. What they were interested in is getting it done quickly. So, whatever it took to be the fastest responding, that's what they would do. Health food packager. Okay, that means they're only going to package health foods. They're not going to produce anything. They're not going to grow plants. They're going to just do packaging. They're not going to do retail sales or anything like that, just packaging. And it's west of the Mississippi. So, if there's a company that responds faster in Cincinnati, they don't care. If there's a faster responder in Kansas City, Kansas, they're all over it. But that is what that is what they were really trying to do, and they did it and succeeded beautifully. And that's the kind of clear statement we're trying to get for you guys.
Right. So here's what I'd like to ask you guys to do, because we're at 16 minutes after the hour. And my mom has been waiting for 45 minutes for me to come pick her up. But it's her own damn fault for showing up while I was in the middle of this. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching this later. So what I'd like you guys to do as a group is over the next few days or over the next week, try to formulate a single sentence that says exactly what you want to do in that same sense. So Mark, will you say that other goal statement so that I can use that as an example?
The one again? I just gave?
Yeah, the one you just gave.
Fastest responding health food packager west of the Mississippi. Now, one thing I want to say to you guys is do not be discouraged. This is hard stuff and it takes time. But when you put in the time and front load the process like this, when you get down to once you've got that statement settled, all sorts of problems just fall away. All sorts of extraneous stuff that you thought you had to do, you don't have to do. And your project will take off like a rocket, as we'll show you, as you will see. But you've really got to get this statement down and clear. If you get this one thing done, everything else smooths out, and I think you'll be amazed at how fast you can make progress. So anyway, hash it out. Take time. This is hard nut cutting, and it takes time, and it takes sweat. And I think you did a great job today, and you got a ways to go yet, but that's okay. Just hang with it, and I think we can get some really good stuff accomplished. So we look forward to seeing what you come up with over the next week, and we're just going to work with you till we get this one right, and then we move on and work on getting things to happen. Okay? This was a very productive session. You may not see it, but I've been through this many times. This was a very productive session.
Yeah, I also think that this was a very productive session. I'm writing the to-do. Create a single sentence that describes what you want to do. And you can couch this. You can couch this in time delimited fashion as well.
It can be over the next 6 months. It can be what we want to do ultimately. You've got total flexibility here, but you do have to limit yourself, and you have to make choices, and that's a good thing, because when you make choices, you're free. It actually frees you up because you're free to act instead of just standing there looking confused, and it helps you take effective action and really get the kind of results that you guys want to see.
So what I've put here as your to-do, create a single sentence that describes what you want to do. You can couch this in time-delimited fashion, like during the next 6 months, blah, 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 we will, whatever. But it doesn't have to be that way. And I've given you the example that Mark gave you with an explanation of, you know, what is important about that, right? So if you guys can create a sentence, or, you know, it can be a long sentence, it doesn't have to be a short sentence, but that just really succinctly says exactly what you want to do. And then next week we'll work from that sentence into what are the tasks that we should do to make that happen.
Yeah, you set the end point and then you work backwards for how to get there. But you got to set that end point.
Oh, hey, Ricardo put our vision to provide clarity about water quality to people and governments in their local area. So that's a good start. For some reason, I cannot copy and paste out of the chat. This is really annoying. It's copyrighted. All right, so it's 21 after the hour. We're going to let you go. If you guys have any questions for me during the week, please don't hesitate to send me messages. You know, you don't have to feel like you have to wait till the following Tuesday to talk to me. I'm available to you guys anytime, all right? Yeah, and I'm looking forward to next week already. We're getting a lot done. I know that it seems that this part of the process can sometimes feel like you're just spinning, but I can really see how far you're bringing things.
Yeah, a lot of things are congealing. It'll come. Just trust the process.
Yeah, and also one last thing, if you haven't already, take a look at Tarifa, because from a coding perspective, you guys might be able to save yourself some time by using Tarifa's API to handle some of the back-end pieces of things. It'll also, the reason I would suggest using Tarifa on your back end is that because of the way that the API works, you can have a mobile app front face, you can have a website front face, you can have SMS front faces, you can have all different sorts of inputs coming into the system. Theoretically, we could even make the testing kit such that the testing kit sends data directly into the system. And you wouldn't have to build I mean, you'd still have to write the code for that interface, but you wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel every time. You'd only have to write something that talked to an existing API. So consider it, like obviously you don't have to use that, but it's open source. It's already in our ecosystem. If you guys needed technical support, it'd be really easy to hook you up with the guys who wrote it. So it's a thought. Excuse me. All right, do you guys have any final questions or statements before we go?
I will, from myself, it is very clear our next goal. So nothing to say, just I really appreciate all the effort. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you very much. And I look forward to talking to you guys again soon.